Good evening, night owls, and welcome to Whisper Crowley. Tonight, I will guide you into a world of darkness, hoping to help you relax and unwind. Perhaps some of you will even drift into a haunting yet soothing sleep. Before we begin, let me know where you're listening from and what time it is for you. And now we begin. Have you ever felt like your memories are hiding something from you? The question hung in the air like a dense fog, a creeping unease settling in my chest. I stood in my late grandmother's attic, surrounded by dust-covered boxes and the musty scent of forgotten years. A faint beam of light struggled to break through the small window, illuminating the chaos of relics from a life once lived. Photographs, books, and trinkets lay scattered, each one holding echoes of laughter, love, and possibly secrets. I had always felt a strange connection to my grandmother. She was a woman of resilience, having weathered storms of her own. But after her passing, I found myself compelled to uncover more about her past. As I sifted through the items, I noticed something peculiar. An old camera tucked away in the corner, its leather case worn and cracked. I picked it up, curiosity sparking within me. What stories could it tell? Carefully, I opened the case and found several undeveloped rolls of film inside. My heart raced at the thought of what images might be hidden within. I decided to take them to a local shop for development, eager to uncover the mysteries they held. Days passed, each one dragging as I awaited the photos. My mind danced with possibilities. Would I find snapshots of joy? Or something darker? The unease that had begun in the attic only deepened, like a shadow lurking just out of sight. I couldn't shake the feeling that I was being watched, even in my own home. Whispers echoed in my mind, teasing me with fragments of thoughts, memories I could not grasp. When I finally received the photographs, I could hardly contain my excitement. I rushed home, clutching the envelope tightly, anticipation swirling in my chest. As I laid the photos out on my kitchen table, my excitement turned to dread. Each image depicted ordinary scenes, family gatherings, birthdays, laughter, but something was off. In the background of one photograph, a figure loomed just beyond the edge of the frame, shrouded in shadows. The longer I stared at it, the more I felt an unsettling chill creep down my spine. I couldn't help but feel a pull to delve deeper into the past. As night fell, the familiar comforts of my home transformed into a labyrinth of uncertainty. The wind howled outside, rattling the windows, and I found myself pacing the room. My mind raced with questions. Who was that figure? What did my grandmother know that I did? Suddenly, a sound interrupted my thoughts, a soft rustling from the corner of the room. I froze, my breath hitching in my throat. Was it the wind? Or something more? I turned slowly, straining to see through the dim light. The shadows seemed to dance, flickering as if alive, and for a fleeting moment I thought I caught a glimpse of movement. Get a grip, I whispered to myself. It's just your imagination. But deep down, I knew that I wasn't alone. A creeping sense of dread washed over me, twisting my stomach into knots. I took a deep breath, forcing myself to return to the photographs. I needed to focus. As I examined the other images, I noticed more unsettling details. In one photo of a family picnic, an unusual shadow seemed to stretch across the grass, far longer than any person present. In another, the same figure from the first photo appeared again, more defined this time, a vague shape with no discernible features. Each photograph held me captive, drawing me further into a web of anxiety and confusion. My heart raced and a cold sweat formed on my brow. "What is happening?" I muttered, my voice barely a whisper. I decided to return to the attic, searching for clues among my grandmother's belongings. Maybe there was something hidden that could explain what I had seen. The creaking floorboards beneath my feet echoed as I ascended the stairs, each step a reminder of the weight of the past pressing down on me. The attic was dark, the air thick with dust. I felt the familiar sensation of being watched as I rummaged through the boxes. The shadows seemed to shift, and I could swear I heard a faint whisper, like someone calling my name. "Caleb." "Just my mind playing tricks," I murmured, though I could feel my pulse quickening. I stumbled across an old trunk and with trembling hands opened it. Inside, I found journals filled with my grandmother's elegant script. I began to read, captivated by her words. She wrote about her youth, her struggles, and her fears, but one entry sent chills down my spine. "I fear the shadows that follow me. They have a presence and they linger when I'm alone." My blood ran cold. Had she experienced the same sensations I had? I was not alone in this haunting. As I continued to read, the descriptions of her encounters grew more vivid, detailing whispers that echoed in her mind, shadows that danced just beyond her vision. Suddenly a loud crash startled me, breaking my concentration. I whipped around, heart racing. The attic door slammed shut, plunging me into darkness. Panic surged through me. "Hello," I called, my voice shaky. Silence answered, thick and suffocating. The shadows enveloped me, closing in. My breath quickened as I fumbled for my phone, using its light to pierce the darkness. As the beam cut through, I noticed something chilling, a shape in the corner, just out of reach of the light. My heart stopped. The figure loomed, indistinct and menacing, flickering like a candle in the wind. I could feel its presence tightening around me, drawing closer. The whispers grew louder, swirling in my ears, merging with my own panicked thoughts. Get out," they seemed to chant. In a moment of sheer instinct, I turned and ran, slamming into the attic door. It wouldn't budge. I pounded on it, desperation flooding my veins. "Let me out. Please." The whispers morphed into laughter, taunting me as I struggled. Just as I felt the last ounce of hope drain away, the door creaked open, and I stumbled into the hallway, gasping for air. I collapsed against the wall, trying to steady my breath. The attic loomed behind me, a dark abyss filled with secrets I was not ready to face. I needed answers, but at what cost? That night, as I lay in bed, the weight of the day pressed down on me. The photographs and my grandmother's words danced in my mind, blurring the lines between reality and fear. Was it all in my head? Or had I awakened something that should have remained buried? Sleep evaded me, and as dawn approached, I resolved to confront the truth. I would return to the attic, to the photographs, and to the memories that haunted me. I would uncover what lay hidden, no matter the cost. Little did I know the shadows were already closing in, waiting for me to look back. As dawn's light seeped through my window, casting long fingers of illumination across the room, I felt a knot of anxiety tighten in my chest. I hadn't slept a wink, my mind replaying the events of the previous night. The whispers, the figure in the attic, it all felt like a sinister dream, yet the fear clung to me like a shroud. I forced myself out of bed, the wooden floor cool beneath my feet. I needed to face the attic again, to confront the memories that had been dredged up and to seek answers in my grandmother's journals. I could no longer afford to hide from the shadows that danced at the edge of my reality. After a quick breakfast, I climbed the stairs to the attic, each creak of the steps echoing my unease. The door loomed before me, an ominous portal to the unknown. I took a deep breath, steeling myself for whatever awaited inside. As I pushed the door open, the musty air washed over me, thick with the weight of years gone by. This time the attic felt different, more alive, charged with a tangible energy that made the hair on my arms stand on end. I could hear the faintest sounds, almost like a whispering wind. I focused my flashlight beam on the boxes that lay scattered around, searching for the journal that had revealed my grandmother's fears. My hands trembled as I rifled through the boxes, tossing aside old toys and forgotten clothing. Suddenly I found it, a worn leather-bound journal, its pages yellowed with age. I opened it, scanning the entries for anything that might explain the chilling figure I had encountered. As I read, I could almost hear her voice speaking through the ink. She wrote about her childhood in this house, a time filled with laughter but also an undercurrent of dread. She had encountered strange happenings, objects moving on their own, fleeting shadows darting just beyond her line of sight. The entries became increasingly frantic, her words spilling onto the pages as she grappled with an invisible terror. They are always there, watching. I can feel them. I see them in my dreams, and sometimes they come for me in the night. Each word resonated deep within me, my own experiences echoing in her writing. I felt a chill creep down my spine, an overwhelming sense of connection to her plight. The shadows she described felt all too familiar, as if they had latched onto our family, stalking us through the generations. Just then a noise interrupted my thoughts, a soft scuttling, like tiny feet skittering across the floorboards. My heart raced as I swung the flashlight toward the sound, illuminating the dim corners of the attic. The beam of light caught a flicker of movement, and I froze. There in the darkness, the same indistinct figure from the photographs seemed to shift, almost merging with the shadows. And maybe I'm just imagining things, I whispered to myself, though I could feel my heartbeat pounding in my ears. I took a cautious step back, but the figure lingered, its presence oppressive and suffocating. I squeezed my eyes shut for a brief moment, willing the fear to dissipate. When I opened them again, the figure had vanished, leaving me alone in the eerie quiet. But the air felt charged, as if the shadows were alive and watching. Gathering my courage, I turned my attention back to the journal. I noticed a page marked with a folded corner. It was an entry dated just days before her passing. I fear the shadows have become restless. They want something from me, something buried deep in this house. I can feel it in my bones. If anyone finds this, please beware. I swallowed hard, the weight of her warning pressing down on me. What could she have been hiding? What truth lay buried in this house, and was it linked to the figure that haunted me? Determined, I began searching the attic more thoroughly, moving boxes aside, peering under old furniture. I needed to uncover whatever it was that had been concealed. As I shifted a heavy trunk, a small wooden box fell out from underneath. It landed with a soft thud, stirring a cloud of dust that floated in the sunlight. I carefully picked it up, my heart racing. The box was intricately carved, its surface smooth under my fingertips. I opened it slowly, revealing an assortment of trinkets, old keys, a tarnished locket, and something that looked like a small, faded photograph. As I lifted the photo, my breath caught in my throat. It was a picture of my grandmother as a young woman, but in the background stood the same figure I had seen in the attic in the photographs. This time it was clearer, almost tangible, and I could see its outline, dark, featureless, yet undeniably present. "What did you get yourself into, Grandma?" I murmured, the reality of her experiences crashing down on me like a wave. Suddenly the attic door slammed shut behind me with a deafening bang, echoing through the small space. I jumped, adrenaline surging as panic set in. I rushed to the door, pulling on the handle, but it wouldn't budge. The walls seemed to close in, shadows swirling around me, thick and suffocating. "Let me out," I shouted, fear igniting my desperation. A soft, almost melodic whisper filled the air, resonating through the attic. "You must understand," it said, the voice echoing my grandmother's tone. "You must know the truth." My pulse quickened as I spun around, searching for the source of the voice. The figure reappeared, more defined this time, its form rippling like smoke. It reached toward me, and I felt an overwhelming urge to flee. But I was paralyzed by fear. "Please," I cried out, "what do you want?" The figure hesitated, its form flickering. "You seek answers, Caleb. But to find them, you must confront the past." With that, the shadows surged forward, enveloping me in darkness. I felt myself being pulled away, the world around me dissolving into a whirlwind of memories, sounds, and emotions. I grasped desperately at the edges of reality, but the pull was too strong. In that moment, everything I had ever known began to unravel. The truth was within my reach, but the price was steep. I could feel the weight of my grandmother's past pressing down on me, and as the darkness swallowed me whole, I realized that I was about to step into a realm where fear and truth intertwined, where I would finally confront the shadows that had haunted our family for generations. And deep down, I understood that some truths are best left buried. As the darkness enveloped me, I felt as though I was being pulled through a tunnel of swirling memories. Sounds morphed into a cacophony of voices, each whispering secrets long buried. The sensation of weightlessness was disorienting, as if I was floating between two worlds, one of reality and one where the past bled into the present. Suddenly I landed with a jolt, the floor beneath me solid and cool. I blinked rapidly, adjusting to the dim light that surrounded me. I found myself in a room that felt familiar yet alien, a reflection of the attic but twisted and distorted. The walls were lined with photographs, each frame displaying moments frozen in time, smiling faces, sunlit days, and then the same ominous figure lurking in the shadows. I stepped closer, compelled to examine each image. The figure was ever present, its dark silhouette a constant reminder of the fear that had haunted my grandmother. A chill ran down my spine as I noticed that one of the photographs showed my grandmother as a child, her innocent eyes wide with confusion as she stared at the figure. The juxtaposition of her innocence against the lurking darkness struck me like a punch to the gut. Why? I whispered, my voice echoing in the silence. Why didn't you tell me? The air grew heavy with tension, and I felt the temperature drop. The whispers began again, swirling around me like a storm. They were muffled yet urgent, their meaning just out of reach. I strained to listen, hoping to catch a word or a name that would anchor me to understanding. Then from the shadows, the figure began to coalesce. It took form, its outline becoming more defined, a silhouette of a woman. My heart raced as I realized it bore a striking resemblance to my grandmother, but the features were obscured, like a ghost captured between realms. You seek answers, Caleb, the figure spoke, her voice echoing with a blend of warmth and sorrow. But the truth is not always kind. Who are you? I demanded, my voice trembling as I fought to maintain my composure. What do you want from me? I am the keeper of memories, she replied, her voice resonating with the weight of countless stories. I am both your past and your future. The shadows that haunt this house are a reflection of the pain we have tried to forget. I took a step back, struggling to comprehend her words. What do you mean? What pain? As if sensing my confusion, the room shifted again. The photographs around me flickered like a film reel, transporting me to moments of my grandmother's life. I saw her at different ages, playing in the yard, laughing with friends, then growing increasingly withdrawn, her smile fading as she encountered the darkness that lurked in the corners of her life. In one image, she stood beside a friend, a boy with kind eyes, but the next frame showed her alone, a shadow stretching behind her, its presence palpable. The fear etched on her face was unmistakable, and I could feel her loneliness as if it were my own. Caleb, the figure urged, her voice softening. You must confront what was hidden from you. The shadows are not merely a product of your imagination. They are manifestations of the pain we have carried. They thrive on fear, and they seek to claim what is theirs. Suddenly, the room began to pulse with a rhythmic intensity. The shadows swirled more violently, and the air grew thick with a palpable energy. I felt an overwhelming urge to flee, yet something compelled me to stay. There was a truth here, and it called to me like a siren's song. I can't stay here, I said, panic rising in my chest. I need to go back. The figure raised a hand, halting my retreat. You cannot escape the past, Caleb. You must understand it before you can move forward. There is something buried in this house, a secret that binds our fates. If you wish to break free from the shadows, you must unearth it. With that, the shadows lunged forward, enveloping me in darkness once more. My surroundings shifted, and I found myself back in the attic, gasping for breath. The familiar mustiness filled my lungs, but the atmosphere felt altered, electric with a sense of urgency. Heart pounding, I glanced around, desperate to grasp what had just transpired. The wooden box lay open beside me, its contents spilling out like the remnants of a forgotten life. The locket caught my eye, its chain glinting in the dim light. I reached for it, fingers trembling, and as I held it up, a small, crumpled piece of paper fell out. Unfolding it, I found my grandmother's handwriting scrawled across the page, her final thoughts, her final plea. To whoever finds this, the truth lies in the old oak tree behind the house. It guards the secrets of our family. Beware the shadows, for they are always watching. A sense of dread mixed with determination washed over me. The oak tree. I had played beneath it as a child, but its gnarled roots and twisted branches had always felt strange, almost sentient. If the shadows were drawn to fear, then perhaps uncovering the truth hidden in the tree could release their grip on my family. I had to go there. I had to uncover whatever my grandmother had hidden. With renewed purpose, I steadied myself and moved toward the attic door, gripping the locket tightly in my hand. As I stepped out, the sun had dipped lower in the sky, casting long shadows that seemed to beckon me forward. Each step toward the old oak tree felt heavier, as if the very ground was reluctant to let me pass. The air thickened with tension, and I could almost hear the whispers from the attic echoing in my mind. You must understand, you must know the truth. When I finally reached the tree, its massive trunk loomed before me, an ancient sentinel watching over the secrets of the past. I could feel the weight of its history pressing down, and as I approached, I noticed a peculiar mark carved into its bark, a symbol that seemed both familiar and foreign. Taking a deep breath, I knelt beside the tree, my heart racing. The shadows around me stirred, dark tendrils inching closer, as if sensing my intent. I reached out, brushing my fingers over the symbol, and felt a jolt of energy shoot through me, as if the tree were alive. "What do you hide?" I whispered, my voice barely breaking the heavy silence. The wind rustled through the leaves, and in that moment, I knew I was on the brink of uncovering something monumental. Something that could shatter the chains of fear binding my family. I began to dig, pushing aside the leaves and dirt, determined to unveil the truth that lay buried deep within the roots of the old oak. But as I did, the shadows closed in, their whispers growing louder, more insistent. The darkness pulsed around me, threatening to pull me under. I had to act quickly. I could feel the weight of my grandmother's history bearing down on me, urging me to finish what had been started long ago. With each handful of dirt I unearthed, I felt the presence of something sinister awakening, something desperate to remain hidden. The shadows swirled around me, and I knew I was no longer just confronting my grandmother's past. I was facing the very essence of fear itself. The soil crumbled beneath my fingers, each handful revealing remnants of a past steeped in mystery. As I dug deeper, the whispers escalated into a crescendo, a chaotic symphony of voices that wrapped around me like a suffocating shroud. I could barely make out the words, but the urgency was clear. "Stop. You shouldn't be here." I hesitated, the weight of dread pressing heavily on my chest. The shadows twisted and churned, their form becoming more defined, dark tendrils that slithered closer, testing the boundaries of my courage. A deep-rooted fear gripped me, and for a fleeting moment I considered abandoning this pursuit. Yet a fierce determination surged within me. My grandmother's plea echoed in my mind. The truth lies in the old oak tree. Digging deeper, my hands finally struck something solid. A small, weathered box, its surface covered in dirt and age. Heart racing, I carefully brushed off the grime, revealing intricate carvings that matched the symbol etched into the bark of the tree. It felt like a heartbeat, pulsing in tune with the energy of the shadows surrounding me. As I pried the box open, a rush of cold air enveloped me, as if the contents inside were releasing a breath held for too long. Inside, I found a collection of fragile letters, their edges yellowed and frayed, along with an old photograph, my grandmother as a young woman, her expression grave. Behind her, a figure loomed, indistinct but undeniably present. My breath caught in my throat as I unfolded the first letter. It was addressed to her childhood friend, a name I recognized from the family stories, Elena. The writing was shaky, almost frantic, and I read it aloud, feeling the weight of her words. Elena, I cannot explain what I have seen. The shadows grow restless, and I fear for our safety. They whisper at night, calling to me. I know you think I'm mad, but you must believe me. There is something buried beneath the oak tree. We must dig it up before it is too late. Each line resonated within me, sending shivers down my spine. It was a warning, a plea, and the urgency of her words ignited a fire of curiosity and dread. What had she unearthed? What had she encountered that drove her to such desperation? I reached for the next letter, my fingers trembling as I unfolded it. This one was shorter, scrawled hastily, as if penned in a moment of panic. Elena, I cannot find you. The shadows have taken you from me. I hear them at night, and I fear I am losing my mind. Please, if you find this, know that I tried to protect you. The realization hit me like a freight train. These letters weren't just remnants of my grandmother's past. They were fragments of a larger story, a chilling account of the darkness that had plagued her life. I lifted the photograph, studying the figure in the background. It was blurry, but the more I looked, the more I could make out features, hollow eyes that seemed to bore into my soul. A knot of fear twisted in my stomach. This was not just about my grandmother. This was a family legacy of shadows that needed to be confronted. Suddenly the shadows surged forward, their whispers morphing into frantic shouts. Leave. You must leave now. The air crackled with energy, and the temperature dropped sharply. Panic surged through me as I realized I had disturbed something that wanted to remain buried. No, I shouted, my voice cutting through the chaos. I need to know the truth. I clutched the box tightly, determined not to let it slip from my grasp. I had come too far, and the shadows could not deter me now. With a surge of adrenaline, I turned back to the oak tree. It felt alive, as if it were a guardian standing watch over secrets far too dangerous to remain hidden. I had to understand what this darkness was, what had haunted my grandmother all her life. I resumed digging, each scoop of earth revealing more of the box's contents, a tattered diary, its cover worn but still intact. I felt a deep connection to the words that had spilled onto the pages. The diary belonged to Elena, and with each page I turned, the haunting nature of their friendship unfolded before me. Elena's entries detailed their experiences, each line dripping with fear and confusion. The shadows speak of vengeance, she wrote. They linger in the corners of our lives, whispering secrets of the past. We must confront them, or they will consume us. I flipped through the pages frantically, desperate for answers. The last entry stopped me cold. It was dated just days before my grandmother's final letter to Elena. The shadows are growing stronger. I fear they are coming for me. If you find this, know that I love you like a sister. Do not let the darkness win. Find the truth beneath the old oak. As I read those words, an overwhelming sense of urgency coursed through me. The shadows writhed in agitation, their forms swirling around me, threatening to pull me into their depths. I felt an energy building within the earth, and I knew I was close to something monumental. I plunged my hands into the soil, digging feverishly, my heart pounding in rhythm with the whispers that now filled my mind. Dig deeper. You must find it, the voices cried out, urging me on. Finally, my fingers brushed against something cool and metallic. I gripped it tightly and pulled it from the ground, a small locket, identical to the one I had found in the attic. My breath hitched as I opened it, revealing two tiny portraits, my grandmother and Elena, their smiles radiant, yet now tinged with a sadness that felt palpable. As I held it aloft, a surge of energy crackled through the air. The shadows began to pulse and shift, their whispers transforming into a chaotic chorus of screams. No, stop, you're awakening. I stumbled back, heart racing. The air thickened with a palpable tension, and I could feel the shadows coiling around me like a predator ready to strike. Why are you doing this? I shouted into the darkness, desperation lacing my words. What do you want? In that moment the shadows seemed to freeze, the air growing still. A figure emerged from the darkness, coalescing into a more defined form. A woman, her features obscured but her presence unmistakably familiar. I am the guardian of the past, she said, her voice echoing with an eerie resonance. You have awakened what was meant to remain undisturbed. The shadows are hungry for resolution, Caleb. You must choose, confront the truth, or allow the darkness to consume you. I could feel the weight of her words, the gravity of the choice that lay before me. The shadows danced and flickered, their hunger palpable, but the locket in my hand felt like a beacon of hope. I had to confront whatever haunted my family. Tell me what I need to do, I demanded, summoning every ounce of courage within me. I won't let this darkness win. The figure nodded, her gaze piercing through the shadows that threatened to envelop me. To confront the darkness, you must uncover the hidden truths buried within your family's legacy. Only then can you break the cycle and free yourself from its grasp. With that, the shadows surged forward, their whispers becoming a deafening roar. I braced myself, knowing that whatever awaited me, I had to face it head-on. I was no longer just a passive observer in this tale. I was an active participant, ready to unearth the dark secrets of my lineage and reclaim my family's story. As the shadows closed in, I felt the pull of the past becoming stronger, urging me to take that final step into the unknown. I had to discover the truth behind the shadows, no matter the cost. The echoes of the past were waiting, and I was ready to listen. The shadows loomed over me, their forms twisting and writhing like a living entity hungry for resolution. The air was thick with tension, a storm of energy swirling around as I stood at the crossroads of my family's dark legacy. I clutched the locket tightly, its weight grounding me amidst the chaos. The whispers grew louder, echoing in my mind, each voice a thread of the past woven into the present. Caleb, the familiar voice of my grandmother, echoed through the din, a gentle reminder of the love that had anchored me throughout my life. You must be brave. The truth will set us all free. Taking a deep breath, I stepped forward, ready to face whatever horrors lay hidden in the shadows. The spectral figure that had emerged from the darkness seemed to shimmer with an otherworldly glow, her features still obscured but undeniably filled with sorrow and purpose. Who are you? I demanded, the strength of my voice surprising even me. What do you want from me? I am a reflection of the past, she replied, her voice soft yet powerful. A guardian of the secrets that bind your family. You are here to uncover the truth and confront the darkness that has lingered for far too long. The shadows pulsed, their whispers intensifying, becoming an overwhelming chorus of anguish and despair. You shouldn't have come here. Leave while you can, they cried, their voices layered with fear and anger. No, I said firmly, grounding myself. I need to understand. I owe it to my grandmother, to Elena, and to myself. I will not turn back now. The figure stepped closer, her form beginning to solidify. As the shadows receded slightly, I caught glimpses of her features, my grandmother's eyes filled with both wisdom and pain. Then you must dig deeper, Caleb. The truth is buried within the roots of your family's history, intertwined with the shadows that haunt us. I felt a strange sensation, as if the air itself was urging me forward. I knelt beside the old oak, the gnarled roots stretching like fingers into the earth, and began to sift through the soil once more. With each handful, the whispers turned to gasps, as if the very ground was alive with secrets yearning to be released. Focus, Caleb, the figure urged, her voice guiding me. What you seek is close at hand. As I dug deeper, my fingers grazed over something cold and metallic. I pulled it free, revealing another small box, this one tarnished with age. The shadows quivered, their whispers turning frantic as I opened the lid. Inside I found more letters, each one meticulously penned, each one a piece of the puzzle. I pulled them out one by one, my heart racing as I read the first letter, addressed to my grandmother from Elena. Dear Margaret, the darkness grows stronger. I fear for our lives. The whispers come at night, calling to us, taunting us. We must uncover the truth beneath the oak before it's too late. Tears pricked my eyes as I recognized the deep bond they shared. They had faced this darkness together, but something had torn them apart. Flipping through the letters, I found more alarming revelations. I saw it again, the shadowy figure that lurks in the corners of our lives. It feeds on fear, and I fear it has taken Elena from me. The next letter was even more haunting. If I disappear, know that I loved you like a sister. Find the truth, Margaret. The shadows must not win. Each word filled me with a sense of urgency. I could feel their fear, their desperation, a reflection of my own turmoil. The shadows writhed around me, echoing their anguish, pressing in closer. Why didn't you tell me? I shouted into the abyss, frustration and pain mingling within me. Why did you let this happen? The figure stepped forward, her expression softening. We tried to protect you. The truth is a burden, but it is also a key to breaking the cycle. You must confront what we could not. With a surge of determination, I continued to dig, each handful of dirt unearthing more letters, more memories of a time filled with hope and despair. Finally, I unearthed a larger object, pulling it free from the soil. It was a diary, its cover cracked, but the pages intact. As I opened it, I recognized my grandmother's handwriting. The first entry was dated decades ago, a window into her innermost thoughts. Today I saw it again. The figure in the shadows, watching, waiting. I can feel it growing stronger, feeding off my fear. I must warn Elena, but what if she thinks I am losing my mind? The pages revealed her descent into fear and isolation. She wrote of sleepless nights, the whispers invading her thoughts. I can hear them calling my name, taunting me. she wrote in a later entry. I fear for my sanity. The shadows want something from us, something buried deep in our past. My heart raced as I turned to the final entries, filled with urgency and despair. If anything happens to me, find the truth beneath the old oak. Only then can the cycle be broken. Suddenly the shadows surged forward, their voices becoming a chaotic roar. You must stop. You're awakening it. The air crackled with tension, and I felt the weight of their fury pressing down upon me. No, I shouted, my voice rising above the chaos. I won't stop until I uncover the truth. As I delved deeper into the diary, I felt a strange connection to the past, a sense of belonging that stirred something deep within me. The shadows recoiled slightly, their whispers fading into an uneasy murmur. Then I found it, an entry that sent a chill down my spine. My grandmother wrote of a hidden truth, a curse that had plagued our family for generations. We made a choice long ago, a decision that bound us to this darkness. It is time to face the consequences. Suddenly the atmosphere shifted. The figure stepped closer, her eyes locking onto mine. You have uncovered the beginning of the truth, Caleb. But there is one more thing you must do. What is it? I asked, my voice trembling. You must confront the source of this darkness, she replied, her tone heavy with significance. It resides in the depths of your family's history, tied to the very roots of this oak. You are the one destined to break this cycle. A surge of energy coursed through me as I realized the magnitude of my task. I was not just a spectator, I was the key to unraveling the shadows. I stood tall, resolved to face whatever came next. Tell me how, I said, my voice steady. I will not let this darkness win. The shadows shifted, their forms swirling ominously. You must make a choice, they whispered. Choose to face the past, or choose to flee and remain a prisoner of fear. Taking a deep breath, I made my decision. I choose to confront it. I will face the past and uncover the truth, no matter the cost. The figure nodded, her expression a mixture of pride and sorrow. Then you must go to the heart of the tree, where the darkness is strongest. You will find what you seek there. But be warned, Caleb, the shadows will fight to keep their secrets buried. With that, the shadows surged forward once more, swirling around me in a chaotic frenzy. I felt their energy, a desperate attempt to push me away, but I stood firm, ready to face whatever darkness awaited me at the heart of the oak. As I approached the trunk, I noticed a hollow opening, its depths shrouded in darkness. With resolve, I took a deep breath and stepped inside, prepared to confront the truths that had long remained hidden, to unveil the darkness that had plagued my family for generations. With each step into the hollow, the air grew heavier, thick with a palpable energy that tugged at my very being. I could feel the shadows swirling around me, their whispers transforming into a cacophony of voices, a mixture of anguish, fear, and sorrow. As I moved deeper, I found myself in a dimly lit chamber. The roots of the oak extended around me like the twisted fingers of a grasping hand, and the atmosphere was charged with an energy that felt both familiar and foreboding. At the center of the chamber, a dark figure loomed, its presence radiating an aura of despair and rage. "Welcome, Caleb," it hissed, its voice echoing with the pain of countless souls. "You have come to confront the past. But are you truly ready to face what lies within? I squared my shoulders, gripping the locket tightly in my hand. I am ready. I will uncover the truth. The figure laughed, a sound that sent chills racing down my spine. You think you can break the cycle. You are merely a child playing with forces far beyond your comprehension. Maybe, I replied, forcing my voice to steady. But I won't let you win. I will not be a prisoner of fear any longer. As I stood my ground, the shadows writhed, pushing against me, but I held the locket aloft. This represents the love that binds my family together, I declared, my voice strong. I refuse to let you destroy that bond. In response, the figure lurched forward, a mass of darkness and despair, its features becoming clearer. I could see the faces of my ancestors twisted in anguish, their eyes pleading for release. The darkness swirled around me, a tempest of memories and fears manifesting into a grotesque form. It twisted and contorted, revealing glimpses of my family's tortured past, my grandmother's face, her eyes wide with terror, Elena's, her expression frozen in despair. Do you see? The figure hissed, its voice dripping with malice. They are trapped by the very choices you refuse to acknowledge. You think love can save them. Love cannot break chains forged by fear. I took a step back, but the ground beneath me seemed to pulse with energy, urging me to stay. No, their love is what brought me here. It gives me strength. I can face this. The figure's laughter echoed, chilling my bones. Well, strength. What is strength against the darkness that dwells within you? You cannot escape your lineage, Caleb. You cannot escape what you are. I felt a surge of doubt creep in, gnawing at my resolve. Memories flashed through my mind, the late-night whispers of my grandmother, the strange occurrences that had plagued my childhood. Was I truly equipped to battle this entity? Or was I simply another pawn in its game? Your fear feeds me, it taunted, drawing closer. Each moment of hesitation, every ounce of dread only strengthens my grasp. Are you not afraid of what you might find? Maybe, I said, my voice faltering. But I won't let fear dictate my actions any longer. I felt the locket's weight in my hand, a tangible reminder of the love that transcended this darkness. I choose to confront the truth. With that declaration, I closed my eyes, allowing the memories of my family to wash over me, their laughter, their resilience, the love they shared. The chamber pulsed with energy, and the shadows seemed to retreat slightly, recoiling from the warmth of those memories. Enough, the figure roared, its form flickering as if struggling to maintain cohesion. You cannot erase the past. Maybe I can't erase it, I replied, my heart racing with newfound courage. But I can accept it. I can break the cycle. As I opened my eyes, the darkness coalesced into a single, monstrous visage, a grotesque amalgamation of my ancestors, fears, and regrets. I faced it head-on, the light of my determination cutting through the shadow. I will not let you control my family any longer. The figure lunged, and I braced myself, instinctively raising the locket as if it were a shield. This is not just a trinket, I shouted. It embodies our love, our struggles, and our triumphs. In that moment, a bright light erupted from the locket, illuminating the chamber and pushing back the shadows. The figure screeched, a sound that reverberated through my very soul. No, this cannot be. The light expanded, forcing the darkness to dissipate like mist under the sun. I felt the presence of my ancestors surge around me, their love fortifying my resolve. You are nothing without our fear, I proclaimed, feeling the weight of their collective strength lifting me. With a final surge of energy, the dark figure shattered, dissolving into the air like ash caught in the wind. The chamber brightened, and for the first time, I felt a sense of peace wash over me. The shadows retreated completely, leaving behind a warm, inviting glow. I collapsed to my knees, the locket still clutched tightly in my hand. It's over, I whispered, tears streaming down my face. It's finally over. But as the echoes of my victory settled, a lingering thought crept into my mind. Had I truly defeated the darkness, or merely pushed it away for now? Would it return stronger and more insidious, waiting for the moment I let my guard down? I rose slowly, the remnants of doubt clinging to me like a second skin. As I stepped back out of the hollow, the oak seemed different, more alive, more vibrant, as if the weight of years had been lifted. But I knew the battle was not just against external shadows, it was against the darkness within. As I left the grove, the air felt lighter, yet I couldn't shake the feeling that something was still watching. A soft breeze rustled the leaves overhead, and I glanced back at the oak. Had I truly closed the chapter on my family's legacy, or had I merely set the stage for a new, darker act? The path ahead seemed both promising and perilous. I would carry the weight of my family's history with me, the love that had guided me through the darkness. But the question lingered, would it be enough to keep the shadows at bay? And as I stepped into the light of the evening, I realized that the journey was far from over. The shadows may have been momentarily vanquished, but their echoes would always remain, a reminder of the fine line between light and darkness. I hope you enjoyed the first story. If you did, don't forget to leave a like, but if I didn't do my job well, feel free to give it a thumbs down. Either way, drop a comment and let us know where you're listening from and what time it is for you. Now, let's continue. Have you ever felt the weight of the darkness creeping up behind you? The question lingered in the chilly night air as I stepped onto the dimly lit street. My name is Alex, and I was just an ordinary guy, but tonight felt different. The usual hum of the city was replaced by an unsettling silence. I had recently moved to this neighborhood, seeking a fresh start, but the shadows seemed to whisper secrets I couldn't quite grasp. As I walked, my sneakers crunched against the gravel. A shiver ran down my spine. It wasn't just the cold, it was something else. A sense of being watched. I glanced over my shoulder but saw only the empty street, the streetlights flickering like hesitant fireflies. Just your imagination, I muttered to myself, forcing a chuckle. But my heart raced and I quickened my pace. The trees lining the road cast long, claw-like shadows that danced with the wind. It felt as if they were reaching for me. The smell of damp earth filled the air, mingled with something faintly metallic. It was unsettling, a reminder that beneath the surface of normalcy, something dark lurked. With each step I felt an odd sensation, a prickling at the back of my neck, like the breath of an unseen presence. I shook my head, dismissing the thoughts. "Get a grip, Alex," I said aloud. "There's nothing here. but the shadows seemed to swell, and I couldn't shake the feeling that they were alive. Suddenly a sound pierced the silence. A rustle followed by a soft thud. My heart jumped. I stopped, straining to listen. The sound repeated, echoing from a nearby alleyway. Probably just a cat, I reasoned, but the rational part of my mind was losing the battle against rising panic. I took a cautious step toward the alley, curiosity pulling me closer. The darkness within seemed to swallow the light, creating a void that both intrigued and terrified me. "Hello," I called out, my voice trembling slightly. There was no answer, just the distant murmur of the city and the rustling that seemed to grow louder. Then I heard it, a low, guttural whisper that sent chills through my bones. "Leave," it hissed, the word curling around me like a tendril of smoke. My breath caught in my throat. I stumbled back, heart racing. Okay, this is too much, I thought. I turned to flee, but something caught my eye, a shadow darting just beyond the edge of the alley. It was quick, almost too quick for my mind to register. I froze, torn between the urge to run and the need to understand what was happening. "Alex, just go home," I urged myself, but my feet remained rooted to the spot. The shadows danced again, more pronounced now, as if beckoning me. I could feel a strange pull, a compulsion to step closer. Suddenly I heard a crash from inside the alley. My instincts screamed at me to turn and run, but I couldn't move. The fear and curiosity waged war inside me, each second stretching into eternity. Finally, adrenaline took over. I sprinted away, the sound of my footsteps echoing in the stillness. The world around me morphed as I ran, the familiar streets twisting into something foreign and threatening. I glanced back, half expecting to see whatever had been lurking in the shadows chasing me. But the alley was empty, just a dark mouth gaping hungrily. I stumbled onto a main road, the lights brighter here, the noise of cars and chatter enveloping me like a safety net. But the relief was short-lived. The whispers had followed me, buzzing in my ears, weaving tales of dread that I couldn't comprehend. "What's wrong with me?" I muttered, forcing myself to breathe steadily. It was just a trick of the light, but deep down I knew something was wrong. The shadows had a life of their own, and they were not finished with me yet. As I walked home, the tension clung to me like a shroud. I kept glancing over my shoulder, half expecting to see the silhouette of something or someone lurking behind me. But each time it was just the empty street, the flickering lights, and the ever-present sense of foreboding. The night stretched on, an endless loop of anxiety and anticipation. I reached my apartment, heart pounding, hands trembling as I fumbled with the keys. Once inside, I locked the door behind me, pressing my back against it as if that could keep whatever haunted me outside. But as I settled into the quiet of my apartment, the question returned, gnawing at the edges of my sanity. Was it just a figment of my imagination? Or was there something in the darkness waiting for me to return? Sleep eluded me that night. Every creak of the building, every gust of wind outside felt amplified, a reminder that the shadows were always close. The night dragged on, each tick of the clock sounding like a drumbeat of impending doom. I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling, the shadows in my room stretching and shifting with every flicker of light from the street lamp outside. It felt like they were conspiring against me, whispering secrets I wasn't meant to hear. Get a grip, I muttered to myself, but the words felt hollow. Just as I began to drift into a restless sleep, a sound jolted me awake. It was a soft thud, then a faint rustling, like something or someone moving in the darkness of my living room. My heart raced. I lay perfectly still, straining to hear over the pounding in my chest. The sound came again, more insistent this time. Stay calm, I whispered, forcing myself to take deep breaths. It's just the wind. Or maybe a branch, but an gnawing sense of dread told me it was something else entirely. I quietly swung my legs over the edge of the bed, feeling the coolness of the wooden floor against my feet. Every fiber of my being screamed at me to turn on the light, but I resisted. I didn't want to acknowledge the shadows that lurked just beyond the threshold of my awareness. Slowly, I crept toward the living room, the floorboards creaking softly beneath my weight. Each step felt like an eternity, the air thickening around me, pressing in as if to suffocate me. I reached for the light switch, fingers trembling, and flipped it on. The bright light flooded the room, chasing away the darkness but leaving behind an unsettling emptiness. The room was empty, save for the faint glow of the city filtering through the curtains. I exhaled, a mix of relief and lingering fear washing over me. But as I turned to head back to my room, something caught my eye. The window was slightly ajar, the curtain fluttering gently as a cool breeze whispered in. I approached the window, peering out into the night. The street was quiet, illuminated by the pale light of the moon. Yet that same unsettling sensation washed over me, as if the shadows were waiting for something, a trap set in the stillness. Suddenly a figure moved in my periphery, darting past the edge of the streetlight. I jerked back, my breath hitching in my throat. "What was that?" I whispered, fighting the urge to panic. I squinted into the darkness, but the figure had vanished, leaving only the unsettling silence. The whispers returned, a low hum that danced at the edge of my consciousness. "Leave," they beckoned, but I was too entranced by the possibility of discovering what lurked in the night. I grabbed my jacket, the fabric feeling heavy in my hands, and stepped outside, the chill wrapping around me like a shroud. As I ventured back into the night, the streets were eerily quiet, the world around me feeling both familiar and alien. I felt an overwhelming urge to return to the alley where I had heard the whispers. The pull was magnetic, as if the shadows were calling me, daring me to confront whatever was hidden there. With each step, the silence deepened, stretching into an oppressive blanket that seemed to stifle my thoughts. The flickering streetlights cast long shadows that danced with my movements, and the wind rustled through the trees, an eerie symphony that played just for me. Reaching the alley, I hesitated at the entrance, the darkness swallowing the path ahead. I could feel the weight of anticipation in my chest, a mix of dread and curiosity urging me forward. I stepped into the alley, the ground slick with moisture, and the shadows seemed to pulse with energy, alive and waiting. "Hello," I called out, my voice wavering as it echoed off the walls. The shadows twisted, drawing closer as the familiar rustle began again. This time, however, there was no denying it. The sound was not just in my head. From the depths of the darkness, a figure emerged, slow and deliberate. My heart raced as I took a step back. It was a silhouette, indistinct and shifting, almost as if it was made of smoke. It stood still, watching me with an intensity that sent a chill down my spine. "Who are you?" I managed to ask, my voice barely above a whisper. The figure didn't respond, but I felt a strange connection, a link between us that transcended words. The whispers intensified, rising and falling like a tide, each wave filled with urgency. "You must know the truth," the figure finally spoke, its voice low and resonant. "You are not alone in this. The darkness has claimed many, but you have the power to break its hold." "What do you mean?" I asked, confusion clouding my mind. "What truth?" The figure shifted closer, and I could see it more clearly now, a face etched with pain, eyes that glimmered with unshed tears. "Your fear has awakened it," it said, the shadows around it writhing like a living thing. "But you can choose to confront it, to face the past that haunts you." Images flooded my mind, memories I had buried deep, of moments filled with anxiety, regret, and loss. "I don't understand," I said, trembling. "What past?" "The darkness feeds on fear, on the things you refuse to acknowledge," it replied, its voice growing stronger. "It seeks to consume you, to trap you in a cycle of despair. But you hold the key to your freedom." I felt the weight of its words, each one striking a chord within me. The realization hit me hard. I had been running from my own shadows, hiding from the very things that bound me. "How do I confront it?" I asked, desperation lacing my voice. The figure pointed deeper into the alley, where the darkness thickened like a curtain. "Follow the path of your fear. Only then will you understand." As the figure faded back into the shadows, I felt a surge of determination rising within me. I had to face whatever awaited me. Taking a deep breath, I stepped forward, plunging into the darkness, ready to confront the echoes of my past and the shadows that had haunted me for far too long. As I stepped deeper into the alley, the shadows enveloped me, thickening with each heartbeat. The air grew heavier, thick with the scent of damp earth and something else, something metallic that made my stomach churn. I could feel the weight of anticipation pressing down, each breath a struggle against the oppressive darkness. My heart raced, pounding a frantic rhythm as I ventured further, the ground slick beneath my shoes. The echo of my footsteps seemed to blend into the whispers that had once been a distant murmur, but now surged around me like a tempest. "Face it," they urged, a chorus of voices mingling with my own fears. "Face it." With every step, I was drawn further into the unknown. The alley twisted and turned, a labyrinth of darkness that felt both familiar and foreign. Memories flickered in my mind like shadows of their own, fragments of my past, moments of fear that I had buried deep within. I could almost hear the voices of my childhood echoing in the back of my mind, reminding me of times when I felt vulnerable, lost in a world that often felt too big and too dark. Suddenly I stumbled upon a small clearing, illuminated by a weak shaft of moonlight that broke through the clouds above. In the center stood a weathered old door, its surface marred by years of neglect. It appeared out of place in this twisted alley, almost as if it were a portal to another world. My breath caught in my throat as I approached, a chill racing down my spine. What lay behind that door? I hesitated, my mind racing with possibilities. "It's just a door," I whispered, trying to convince myself. But the whispers around me grew louder, filling the air with a sense of urgency. "Open it," they beckoned, intertwining with the sound of my racing heart. "You must know." I reached for the doorknob, feeling the cold metal against my palm. My hand trembled as I turned it, the creaking sound echoing in the stillness of the alley. With a deep breath, I pushed the door open, the hinges protesting with a mournful groan. Inside, darkness swallowed me whole. The air was stale, heavy with the scent of decay and forgotten memories. I stepped cautiously across the threshold, my pulse quickening as the door creaked shut behind me with a finality that sent shivers down my spine. The space felt immense, yet claustrophobic. My eyes struggled to adjust to the dim light, but as they did, I began to make out shapes, furniture draped in dusty sheets, cobwebs festooning every corner, and walls lined with shelves that groaned under the weight of forgotten trinkets. The shadows shifted, dancing in the corners of my vision, as if they were alive, observing me with an insatiable curiosity. "What is this place?" I murmured, my voice trembling as it broke the silence. It felt like a forgotten relic, a mausoleum of memories that had long been left behind. And yet something about it felt deeply familiar, as if I had been here before. As I moved further inside, I caught sight of a small table in the corner, a delicate porcelain doll perched atop it. Its glassy eyes seemed to follow me, filled with an unsettling intelligence that made my skin crawl. I glanced away, heart racing, feeling the weight of its gaze pressing on my back. The whispers intensified, swirling around me like a tempest. "Remember," they urged. "You must remember." I pressed my hands to my temples, trying to quiet the voices. "What do you want me to remember?" I moved to a nearby shelf, brushing dust away to reveal a collection of old photographs, their edges yellowed with age. Picking one up, I felt a jolt of recognition. It was a picture of my grandmother, young and vibrant, standing beside a woman I didn't recognize. The woman had a haunting smile, her eyes glinting with a mischief that made my heart race. I turned the photograph over and found a name scrawled in elegant cursive: Elena. The name sent a wave of memories crashing over me, stories whispered in the dark, warnings about the shadows that danced at the edges of our lives. "Elena," I murmured, feeling a strange connection to the name. "What happened to you?" As if in response, the shadows flickered, twisting and contorting in the corners of my vision. The air grew colder, wrapping around me like an icy embrace. I could almost hear her voice, soft and melodic, yet laced with an undercurrent of desperation. "Help me, Caleb, help us." Suddenly a crash echoed through the room, a sound that made me jump. I turned quickly, heart racing. My pulse thudded in my ears as I scanned the darkness, searching for the source. The porcelain doll had fallen from the table, shattering on the ground, the pieces scattering like shards of my fraying sanity. The whispers transformed into a cacophony, each voice distinct and plating. "Leave now," they cried. "Run while you can," panic surged within me, but I was rooted in place, paralyzed by the growing sense of dread that gripped my heart. Caleb, the voice of my grandmother, pierced through the chaos, steady yet haunting. "You must confront the truth. You must break the cycle." "I can't," I shouted back, frustration boiling over. "What truth? What do you want from me?" The shadows swirled violently, coalescing into a figure, a silhouette that seemed to flicker in and out of existence. It stepped closer, and I could feel its presence looming, heavy and oppressive. The air grew thick with tension, the temperature dropping further. "Face your fears," it whispered, the words wrapping around me like a vice. "Only then can you understand." I took a hesitant step back, but the figure advanced, its features becoming clearer, twisted, anguished faces of my ancestors, eyes wide with despair. They were trapped in the darkness, their forms flickering like candles fighting against the wind. I can't be like you, I breathed, fear coursing through me. I won't let this happen. The figure paused, a glimmer of something in its eyes, sadness perhaps, or a flicker of hope. You have a choice, Caleb, it said, voice trembling with the weight of its sorrow. Break free. End the cycle. Taking a deep breath, I squared my shoulders, summoning every ounce of courage within me. I will confront it, I said, my voice steadying. I will not let the darkness win. The shadows roared in response, a tempest of anger and despair swirling around me. But I pushed through, determined to face whatever awaited me in the heart of the darkness. I could feel the weight of my family's legacy pressing on my shoulders, a burden I was now ready to confront. With that resolve, I stepped further into the shadows, ready to uncover the truth that had haunted my family for generations. The path ahead was shrouded in darkness, but I would find my way. I had to. As I stepped deeper into the shadows, the atmosphere shifted. The air thickened, swirling with an energy that felt both oppressive and alive. Each breath felt like a struggle against the weight of the past pressing in on me. I could hear my heartbeat echoing in my ears, a rhythmic reminder that I was still alive, still capable of choice. The darkness around me began to pulse, alive with whispers that curled around my thoughts like tendrils of smoke. You are not alone, they murmured, voices entwined with memories. We are here. I felt an unsettling blend of fear and familiarity, as if the shadows were beckoning me closer to the truths I had long buried. With each step, I became more attuned to the space surrounding me. The ground beneath my feet was uneven, each step sending ripples of unease through the depths of my being. I reached out, brushing my fingers against the walls, their surface rough and cold, as if they were alive, echoing the anguish of those who had come before me. As I moved forward, the flickering light of my own resolve began to wane, replaced by an encroaching darkness that sought to consume me whole. I glanced back toward the door I had entered through, the faint glimmer of moonlight still visible, but the shadows loomed larger, closing in, whispering promises of fear. Turn back, they hissed. It's not worth it. No, I replied firmly, my voice cutting through the darkness. I have to do this, my resolve solidified, each word a step toward reclaiming my power. I pressed onward deeper into the abyss, where the whispers grew louder, forming a symphony of desperation that pulled at my heart. Suddenly the space around me expanded, revealing a vast chamber bathed in a pale, ghostly light. The walls were lined with mirrors, each one reflecting distorted images of myself, my face twisted in confusion, fear, and despair. I stepped closer, entranced by the reflections that seemed to pulsate with life. What are you? I whispered, voice trembling. The mirrors rippled, and for a moment the faces of my ancestors appeared, their expressions a mix of sorrow and longing. We are you, they spoke in unison, their voices harmonizing in a haunting melody. You carry our pain, our secrets. Will you free us? I don't know how, I shouted, frustration boiling over as I struggled to comprehend the weight of their words. What do you want from me? One mirror began to darken, the glass swirling like a storm. A figure emerged from the depths, slowly materializing in the shimmering surface. It was a woman, Elena, her features strikingly familiar yet foreign, an echo of my grandmother's face but twisted with anguish. Her eyes bore into mine, filled with a desperate intensity that sent chills coursing through my veins. "Caleb," she breathed, her voice a fragile whisper that cut through the cacophony. "You must confront the truth. It lies within you." "What truth?" I implored, my heart racing. "I don't understand." "Long ago we made a choice," she replied, her image flickering as if struggling against the confines of the mirror. "A decision that bound us to this darkness. You have the power to break it, to rewrite our story." The shadows around me roared, swirling violently as if in protest. "Do not listen to her," they cried. "You will suffer. You cannot change what has been done." "I can try," I shouted, my voice rising above the chaos. "I refuse to let this darkness define me." As I spoke, I felt a surge of energy coursing through me, a flicker of light igniting within the depths of my soul. I took a step toward the mirror, reaching out as the glass rippled, a gateway to the past. "Show me," I demanded, my voice steady. "Show me what I need to know." The surface shimmered and then began to swirl, revealing glimpses of the past, my grandmother and Alina, laughing in a sunlit garden, a bond forged in love and trust. But the scenes darkened, shadows creeping in, tainting their laughter with dread. I watched as they uncovered secrets, whispers of a curse that had haunted our family for generations. "No," I gasped, my heart sinking. "What did you do?" The vision shifted, revealing a dark ritual, the air thick with tension as they made their fateful choice, an attempt to seal the darkness away, to protect their loved ones at any cost. But the shadows had taken hold, twisting their intentions into something far more sinister. "Caleb," Alina's voice echoed in the chamber, filled with urgency. "You must face the darkness head on. Only then can you break the cycle." Suddenly the mirrors shattered, shards of glass exploding outward, filling the air with a cacophony of sound and light. I shielded my eyes as the darkness surged, a tempest of despair threatening to engulf me. The figures of my ancestors became lost in the chaos, their faces contorted in pain, pleading for release. "Caleb," the cry was sharp, piercing through the turmoil. "Remember who you are." With a surge of determination, I steadied myself against the overwhelming tide. "I am not defined by your fears," I yelled, the words resonating with the core of my being. "I will break this cycle." As the shadows surged, I focused on the flickering light within me, visualizing it as a beacon cutting through the darkness. I reached deep into my memories, recalling the love and strength my grandmother had given me, the stories she had shared. I let that love fill me, illuminating the depths of my fear. "Enough," I shouted, my voice a powerful declaration that reverberated through the chamber. "I reject you. I will not be bound by this darkness any longer." The shadows recoiled, howling in rage as the light within me expanded, pushing back against the encroaching void. I could feel the energy building, a wave of strength surging through me, threatening to shatter the chains that had held my family captive for so long. "Caleb," Alina's voice emerged, filled with hope. "You can do it. We believe in you." With one final push, I unleashed the light within, and the darkness erupted around me, shattering into a million fragments, like a burst of stars scattering across the night sky. I felt a sense of liberation wash over me, a release from the burdens that had weighed me down for so long. As the chaos subsided, I found myself standing alone in the chamber, the mirrors now whole and unbroken, reflecting a version of myself I had never seen before, strong, resolute, and free. The shadows had receded, their whispers fading into silence, leaving behind an echo of their despair. But even as I stood victorious, a lingering unease settled in the pit of my stomach. Had I truly conquered the darkness, or had I merely pushed it away for now? The uncertainty hung in the air, an unanswered question that echoed in my mind. I took a deep breath, feeling the remnants of the battle within me. The path ahead remained shrouded in mystery, but I was ready to confront whatever came next. With renewed purpose, I turned to exit the chamber, determined to uncover the final pieces of my family's legacy. As I stepped back into the familiar shadows of the alley, I knew my journey was far from over. The echoes of the past lingered, whispering promises of resolution and the hope of healing. I could feel the weight of my ancestors' eyes upon me, their legacy intertwined with my own. I was ready to face whatever lay ahead, to confront the darkness that still lingered and uncover the truth that awaited. Emerging from the chamber, the chill of the night air hit me like a wave, grounding me in the reality of my surroundings. The alley was dimly lit, shadows dancing along the cobblestones as I made my way back toward the main street. I could still feel the remnants of the dark energy swirling around me, like a ghostly whisper clinging to my skin, a reminder of the battle I had just fought. As I stepped into the street, the ordinary world felt strangely altered, as if I were seeing it through a lens tainted by my experience. The flickering streetlights cast eerie shadows, and the soft rustle of leaves in the breeze sounded like a chorus of forgotten voices. I shivered, the cool air cutting through me, but I knew I had to keep moving. There was no turning back. My mind raced as I processed everything I had just witnessed. The reflections in the mirrors, the faces of my ancestors, they haunted me, a reminder of the heavy burden I now carried. I was not just Caleb anymore. I was the vessel of their stories, their pain, and their hope for redemption. What did that mean for me? Could I truly break the cycle they had been trapped in for so long? As I walked, I passed familiar shops and cafes, their windows aglow with warm light. Yet beneath the surface of normalcy, I felt a profound disconnection. People rushed by, their laughter and chatter blending into a distant hum, while I was ensnared in a web of thoughts that separated me from them. I was acutely aware of my own solitude, the weight of my mission pressing down like a heavy cloak. The city, once a place of comfort, now felt like a labyrinth of shadows. Every corner I turned felt pregnant with possibility and danger. I could almost sense the echoes of the past swirling around me, tugging at my consciousness. "What do you want?" I whispered into the night, hoping the shadows would answer. Then from the periphery of my vision, I caught sight of a flicker, movement that sent a jolt of unease through my core. I turned sharply, my heart racing, but the street was empty. A sense of dread crept in, the hairs on the back of my neck standing on end. "It's just your mind playing tricks," I told myself, but doubt gnawed at me, whispering that something was indeed lurking just out of sight. Determined to push past the fear, I headed toward the park at the end of the street. It was a place I had frequented during childhood, a sanctuary of sorts, filled with laughter and memories of playing hide-and-seek with friends. Now, as I approached, the trees loomed like sentinels, their branches twisted and dark against the moonlight, casting elongated shadows that seemed to reach for me. As I stepped onto the gravel path, I felt the familiar comfort of the park wash over me, but it was tinged with an unsettling undercurrent. The rustling leaves whispered secrets, and the distant call of an owl echoed through the stillness, amplifying my sense of isolation. I took a moment to collect myself on a bench, its surface cool beneath me. I needed clarity. Flashes of the mirror chamber played in my mind, images of Elena and my grandmother intertwining with the darkness. What had they uncovered? What choice had they made? I pulled the locket from my pocket, its weight grounding me as I traced the intricate design with my fingers. It felt like a connection to my roots, a symbol of the love that had once flourished, now shadowed by fear. Suddenly a sound broke through my thoughts, a rustling from the nearby bushes, followed by a soft, almost rhythmic thumping. My heart raced as I turned, searching for the source. The shadows seemed to deepen, stretching across the path like dark tendrils creeping toward me. "Who's there?" I called, my voice shaky but firm. No response, just the continued rustle, growing closer. I stood up, every instinct screaming for me to flee, yet I felt an undeniable pull toward the sound, as if something, or someone, was beckoning me closer. I took a cautious step forward, my breath shallow. What if it was a figment of my imagination? Or worse, what if it was real? The thumping grew louder, and from the bushes, a figure stepped into view. My heart dropped. It was a man, disheveled and wild-eyed, his clothes tattered and dirty. There was something unsettling about him, a frenetic energy that radiated from his very being. "You shouldn't be here," he warned, his voice low and urgent. "Not now." "Why?" I asked, my voice barely above a whisper. "What do you know?" "The shadows, they're hungry," he said, glancing over his shoulder as if expecting something to emerge. "They've been watching, waiting. You've awakened something. You need to leave." "I can't just run away," I replied, a surge of defiance rising within me. "I need to confront this darkness. I need to understand." He shook his head vigorously, his eyes wide with panic. "You don't understand. It's not just your family's past, it's alive. It will consume you if you let it." Before I could respond, he turned abruptly, disappearing into the darkness of the park. My heart pounded in my chest as I processed his words. The shadows danced around me, as if encouraging my next move, a mix of fear and curiosity driving me forward. I couldn't ignore the warning, but I also couldn't let fear dictate my actions. What if this man knew something I needed to hear? What if he was just another shadow seeking to deter me? With resolve, I took a deep breath and ventured deeper into the park. Each step felt like a plunge into the unknown, the shadows wrapping around me like a shroud. I could feel the weight of history pressing down, a palpable force urging me to uncover the truth. As I walked, I began to notice the sounds again, the soft rustle of leaves, the distant murmur of water from the fountain, but now they were intermingled with whispers, faint and eerie. They wrapped around me, each word barely audible yet insistent. "Caleb, find us, release us." The air thickened, and I felt an electric tension coiling around me, making it hard to breathe. I realized then that I was not alone in this darkness. The shadows were gathering, swirling around, drawn to my presence like moths to a flame. "What do you want?" I shouted, but the words seemed to vanish into the void. Suddenly a chill swept through the air, freezing me in place. A figure materialized from the darkness ahead, standing at the base of an ancient oak tree that towered above the park. It was the same tree I had seen in the vision, a sentinel of secrets, its gnarled roots twisted like the very fabric of my family's past. The figure stepped into the light, and my breath caught in my throat. It was Elena, or at least the apparition of her I had seen in the mirror. Her face was filled with a mixture of sorrow and hope, and her eyes bore into mine with an intensity that made my heart race. "Caleb," she said, her voice a haunting echo. "You've come. Now you must make your choice." As I stood before her, the shadows shifted, swirling around my feet, whispering promises and threats alike. The gravity of the moment settled over me, and I understood that I was at a crossroads. The path ahead was shrouded in uncertainty, but I had the power to shape my destiny. "Tell me what I must do," I urged, my voice steady despite the turmoil within. "I will confront the darkness. I will break this cycle." Elena's expression softened, and the shadows seemed to pull back slightly, as if acknowledging my resolve. "Then you must seek the heart of the tree," she said, gesturing toward the gnarled trunk. "The truth lies within its roots. But be warned, the shadows will not let you go easily." With a nod of understanding, I stepped forward, ready to confront whatever awaited me at the heart of the oak. As I reached out to touch the rough bark, a surge of energy coursed through me, a connection to my past, my family, and the darkness that had sought to claim us. The moment my fingers grazed the surface, the shadows erupted around me, coiling and writhing like a storm, but I stood firm. I was ready to face whatever horrors lay beneath, to uncover the truth that had long been hidden, and to reclaim my family's legacy once and for all. You made it to the end of the stories. That means it's the perfect time to subscribe so you don't miss future episodes. And if you haven't already, leave a like and drop a comment. I'd love to hear your thoughts. Have a great time relaxing, and good night.